I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, September 17th, the Ross Board of Education regular meeting. Mr. Kinsel, could you please do the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Bossy?
Present.
Mrs. Hayes?
Here.
And Mr. Chanel?
Here.
Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Kunkel, with the review of the agenda, could you go to the agenda, please?
Yes, sir. The agenda tonight, Mr. President, we have one resolution that we will present to you. We also have some personnel items. Mr. Castaner will talk about that here in a minute. And then finally, we have the treasurer's report for you. So this time, Mr. Castaner, you want to talk about the additions?
The personnel items, we have 4 schedules that we'll be asking for approval for tonight. On 2 of those schedules, there were additions that happened after the initial agenda was shared. So we have added 2 individuals to Schedule D under supplemental approvals, and we also added 1 new hire to Schedule C.
Thank you, Mr. Castaner. We'll move on the agenda to item number 4, review, correction, and approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Motion.
Mrs. Hayes with the first. Can we get a second?
Second.
Mr. Chanel? Mr. Kinsel, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Chanel?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Bossy?
Yes.
And Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes. We'll move on to item 5, public comments. We did have one submitted via email, and that is going to, and thank you for submitting that, and that's going to be addressed by our upper administration and also our curriculum director via email. In the future, as long as we're still in the pandemic and on video instead of being live, if you have any comments, please email those to Mr. Castaner. His email is on the website. We'll move on to item number 6, Superintendent reports and recommendations.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, before we begin, I just want to thank our students, our staff, and our parents. We've had a very successful opening. This is the first full week that we're in. Obviously, last week was a soft opening, but just a very successful week here, and looking forward to the school year. So, with that being said, there's a resolution tonight, Mr. President, before you. That resolution is for 1 year. That resolution is to change the high school graduation credits to 220 from 23.5. And the reasoning is because we're in a pandemic. So again, this is a 1-year board resolution to change the graduation requirements from 23.5 to 20 credits.
Can I get a motion to approve item A under superintendent recommendations and reports? First, please. Mrs. Hayes, second.
Second.
Mr. Chanel. Mr. Kinsel, go ahead and call the roll.
Yes. Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Chanel?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
And Mr. Bossy?
I abstain.
Okay, moving on to item B, Mr. Castaner.
Under personnel tonight, we're asking for approval of Schedules A, C, D, and E.
Can we get a first to approve A through A, C, D, and E under personnel? Can we get a first, please?
Motion.
Mrs. Hayes, second.
Second.
Mrs. Webb, Mr. Kinsel, could you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Yes. Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mr. Bossy?
Yes.
And Mr. Chanel?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to treasurer's reports and recommendations. Mr. Kinsel.
Yeah, I'd like to block A through D. A is the MOU for the COG, where we get our subs, the Warren County contract, and the approval for the lease purchase of buses with Santander. And then the last item is investments. So I'd like to block all four.
A through D. Can we get a motion for A through D, treasurer's report? Can we get a first, please?
Motion.
Mrs. Webb, can we get a second?
Second.
Mr. Kitchell, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Webb,
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle,
Yes.
Mr. Bossy,
Yes.
and Mr. Chanel.
Okay, we're gonna move on to board committee reports, which we have none this month. So we'll go to our final board comments around the table. We'll start with you, board member, Mr. Bossy.
Yes, thank you very kindly. And the fortunate opportunity today to be part of the touring group. I had the opportunity to tour Morgan School, and I came away with this one thought. It is a highly energized educational environment. I cannot believe how engaged they were. Everybody was engaged. The students were engaged, the teachers, and it wasn't like we were set up, here they come. We kind of walked by a room and maybe opened the door and took a peek. But they were engaged. And the other point, if I may, they were all masked. I did not see one student without a mask. It was beyond my understanding. Beyond my understanding. So from the concept, I wanted to tip my hat maybe to all Ross. I wish I had a chance to now tour them all, but from the Morgan perspective, engaged is the word of the week, if not the year. So I hope it sticks there. I also think that they knew we were coming because the lawn was immaculate. The hallways had a shine. Everything was perfect. It just was a very wonderful experience. And so, if I may, to all, job well done. Second topic is the retirement of our custodian at the middle school, Big Don.
Don?
I'll miss him. I'll miss him a lot. Is he gone? Physically gone?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll figure a way to cross his path. He is a supporter of recycling, and that's one of my hot buttons. Don is supported that program to the point that he collected from the middle school all the used batteries, and from households used batteries. Had buckets full of them, and then he gave them to me to build my muscles. No, I mean to have them recycled. But it took a lot of muscle just to get them to the car. And he didn't volunteer to help, so I'll hold that against him. But so if you wouldn't mind, or somebody, check in Don's closets, corners of his office. There may be some buckets half used, filled with batteries, and I'd be happy. I got to know by next week, early next week, otherwise they won't accept them anymore.
Okay.
Batteries, used batteries. So with that in mind, I will miss Big Don.
Yeah, we will miss him too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chanel?
My comments are kind of in line with where Ed was headed. I had the pleasure of touring over at the middle school today with Mr. Saylor and others, and I was just blown away by the energy in the building. To steal a word from Ed there, but everyone was masked, but you could see the excitement in the kids' eyes. You could see just talking and energy, and everybody was happy. I'm just really thrilled that everything's going so well. You can just tell the kids are happy to be back in the school environment. So it was great to see.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes, I just want to say I'm excited for my tour tomorrow. I'm at Ella, so I'll get back with you. I can't wait. I like Ella. And I just want to say it's a great start. Thank the district leadership and all what we've heard, and hard work, and Mr. Castater for his hard work on hiring some people that we needed. So thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, I was able to tour the bus garage and Elda. I'm going to speak about the bus garage first. They are extremely excited to start school, but I think equally excited that we're going to have a new bus garage for those folks that we will no longer be renting, we'll be owning. So the bus garage people were happy. I had Elda as well, that Heather gets to see tomorrow, and same thing to Ed and Andy said. A lot of excitement. The one person that we're losing at Ross is our athletic trainer, Kari. He is now a teacher for us through Butler Tech, but placed at the Ross High School. Kari had a huge influence on a ton of athletes and even families. He went well above and beyond just being an athletic trainer. He's going to be sorely missed, but also want to welcome Sam Rice, who is our new athletic trainer, and I'm sure that Sam will do just as good as well. So those are my comments for tonight. Mrs. Webb?
So I have a couple things. One, I just want to commend everybody for a fantastic start. I know there was a lot of pre-planning going in. I know there was a lot of anxiety and questions and what ifs, but I think that we have done a fantastic job of getting kids back in school. My kids have been excited to get back. And the teachers are excited to be with kids again, and just, we've missed those interactions. And I also have to commend one of my daughter's teachers, her 8th grade language arts teacher, for getting super creative. So instead of bringing home a bunch of papers, she had a QR code to scan. You could sign all of the permission forms and everything online. I just thought that was just a brilliant idea, and just an example of things that we have learned through this entire experience in this pandemic. So thank you, Mrs. Reddick. In addition, I've known Linda and Don Eschenbrenner for several years, and just great people, fantastic family, heavily involved in the school district, and I want to wish Don the best of luck in a great retirement. And I also want to thank Dr. Conkle for setting up a tour of the Spooky Nook for the Board of Education. It was exciting to see the construction taking place and what it's going to look like, and the benefits that it'll provide, our community, and opportunities for our families and our kids, and in the surrounding area, in the tri-state area. So that was pretty neat to see that in action. So thank you for getting that set up for us on Tuesday. And I believe that is it.
Thank you. We're going to move into executive session with no action to follow this evening. Can we have a first to move in executive session, please?
Motion.
Mr. Chanel, can we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Webb, Mr. Kitzel, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Chanel?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mr. Bonsi?
Yes.
And Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Good, Ralph?